Supposedly, it all started with George Floyd, but this isn't anything new.
African-American teenager was shot and killed by police.
Michael Brown,
Alton Sterling,
Orlando Castile,
Breonna Taylor,
Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old,
Freddie Gray,
Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black teenager.
The chokehold death of Eric Garner, a man whose last words were, "I can't breathe."
Corporal Casebolt's takedown of a 15-year-old girl.
Outrage at the death of George Floyd, an African-American man, while in police custody in Minneapolis nearly a week ago. In city after American city tonight, thousands of people have once again taken to the streets to express their anger, frustration, and solidarity with others among them.
I don't necessarily know where to start, so I just decided I'd start by introducing myself. Hi, my name's Nevaeh. I filmed this video multiple times because I just want to do it right. I want to say something, I want to do something that will help, and so this video is going to be mainly to educate, spread awareness, and give resources to help in any way possible. I'm sure over the years you've heard Black Lives Matter protests, police brutality protests. Why are we doing that? Our society associates African Americans with crime, gang violence, and poverty. Because our society associates African Americans with crime and violence and gangs and the ghetto and poverty, it creates an unconscious bias. In the same aisle as a Black person, white women start to hold on to their purse a little bit tighter. Due to this unconscious bias, whenever cops are put into a high-risk situation such as an arrest or an interaction with a Black person, it escalates a lot more quickly and way easier. They are more on edge because they associate Black people with crime and violence. Whether they have an unconscious bias that they are not aware of, that this society that we live in has programmed into them, or they are just outright racist, it's still not okay. Would this have happened if they were white? And the answer is no, and here's why. Statistically, Black people are 2.5 times more likely to get killed by a police officer than a white person. Black people are also 21% more likely to have a weapon drawn on them by police than a white person. Statistically, we live in a country where a white man can go on a killing spree and make it out alive, but a Black man, an unarmed Black man, gets a death sentence. This isn't anything new. This has been happening since Emmett Till. Regardless of if it's police brutality or just white supremacy, racism still does exist in America. Here are some of the counter arguments that I've heard. Black people commit more crime, which according to the FBI's Crime in the US table, that's not the case. White people commit more crime than any other race or ethnicity in the US. So no, Black people don't commit more crime. Another one is, in this country, we are all equal. And on paper, yes, that is correct. But the law has nothing to do with perception. All of the murders to police brutality are unlawful, but they happened anyway. And a lot of them have gone without arrests. For example, Breonna Taylor, as of right now, the cops who killed her are not arrested. So yes, on paper, we are all equal, but it doesn't stop justice from not being served. And that all goes back to the unconscious bias that I was explaining earlier. African American prisoners convicted of murder are 50% more likely to be innocent and spend longer in prison before exoneration. Innocent Black people are 12 times more likely to be convicted of a drug crime than white people. Breonna Taylor. Police got a warrant on the wrong house and killed her while she was asleep in her own bed. While Brock Turner can rape an unconscious girl behind a dumpster, get 6 months of jail, and get released in 3 months because of good behavior. Nicholas Cruz, who killed 17 people, is still alive. Breonna Taylor, an innocent woman that was sleeping, is dead. If you don't want to believe that any principle that anybody's saying in this movement is true, look at the statistics. Here are some stories and opinions that I've gotten from my peers.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandre Plihon. I am a junior at the University of Texas Arlington studying aerospace engineering, and I would like to answer the question about how race affects my life. So I've just written some words here that I'll read. My eyes opened to racism when I was 12 years old. after the murder of Trayvon Martin. My youthful innocence was taken, and I was introduced to a world in which the worth of black people is so low that a man can go unpunished for the murder of a 17-year-old boy. I began to see the ways we are marginalized and dehumanized, and in that moment I no longer felt safe in my neighborhood, in my house, going to school, or wearing hoodies. I tried to refrain from participating in activities of a typical 12-year-old boy because for Tamir Rice, that was a death sentence. As a black man in STEM, it's hard to ignore the blaring lack of diversity. I can count on one hand the number of black people in my fluid dynamics class, and that speaks to the lack of institutional support in academia to attract and retain students of color. Finally, I want to say, my hair isn't a political statement. My skin is not a fetish. My ability is not a product of my skin color. I am not a thug or overtly threatening. I am a student, a brother, a son. I am an engineer, and my life matters.
I've never experienced being profiled. I believe this has to do with my privilege. As a white female, I will never experience the same stereotyping as a person of color. Half of my family is black, though. I know that they are the ones affected by this movement, and I need to use my privilege and platform to speak on this. I haven't had a personal experience or contributing at any protests either, due to my conservative family not letting me go, but I have been following many people who support the Black Lives Matter movement and constantly educating myself on what is happening for them. I have seen people uniting to help others after the police brought violence into a protest with tear gas. I have seen videos of people trying to make the movement bad by purposefully causing chaos. I have seen police exercising their abusive power by deliberately arresting protesters. I feel as though people need to understand that the Black Lives Matter movement does not mean all lives don't matter. However, there is an inequality that must be fixed in order for the saying all lives matter to be true. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. Using that saying invalidates the struggle of people of color and relates it to your own. Although white people have hardships, they will never deal with the centuries of racism and oppression built into our system.
Hi, I'm going to speak on my portion and personal opinion of the Black Lives Matter movement. In order for you guys to understand my personal opinion, you have to hear some of the experiences that me and my family members have been through, how we have been profiled based off of our skin color. I've seen my father get pulled over multiple times just for being black in a primarily white neighborhood. And it has given me the fear to drive and given me the fear to speak out in front of large crowds and everything. And just seeing that and how he's treated because he is a person of color in a community of mainly white people, it kind of hurts because I'm part of this community too. I would say that personally, the Black Lives Matter movement helps me feel safer in the community knowing that I have more than half of my community behind me, because I may not be fully black, but the white side of me does not feel oppressed. But the black side of me does. And when someone looks at me, the only thing they see is that I am black. Just because I am black, I shouldn't have to fear to go out into my community and be feared by those who are supposed to be protecting me. The Black Lives Matter movement is so important to me because it's not only a way for me to speak out for myself, but a way for a lot of people to speak about how they've witnessed wrongdoings and to witness and share the witness of their own wrongdoings that have happened to themselves. A lot of people are afraid of those who should be protecting us. And the Black Lives Matter movement is a movement to show that, yes, all lives matter, but in order for all lives to matter, we need to focus on those who are in danger currently. And currently, those who have the skin color of black or brown are targeted more often. And I find that so sad.
So to me, like, the riots, I kind of respect a lot of the people, you know, going out there and pushing the message, you feel me? The whole rioting part aspect of it, like burning businesses and stuff like that. There are a lot of good people out there who believe that's like a good way to get people talking. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who just go to riots to steal. Like, I get it. I like the protest. I feel like it's a good movement because, like, there's been times, like, for instance, I was down in, like, it was a white-owned business once, and you know, it's like every time I'd walk around, pick up a shoe, you know, I'd be like, look back and I'd be getting followed, or like, I'd pick up a shoe and she'd be like, please don't touch the shoe, you don't have enough money to pay for it. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what makes you think I don't have enough money to pay for it. I don't know, I just really think it's a good movement. I feel like it's doing a lot of good a lot of good pushing the movement and just like how we should be treated as Black men and women in modern society.
I firmly believe the statement that racism isn't born, rather than it's taught, and it all begins with how we teach our youth to interact with those who are different from themselves. I've had a multitude of encounters with racism throughout my life, but the most notable ones happened at school. In 7th grade, I was told I was going to pay for the wall, being that I was the child of 2 Mexican immigrants, of which the coaches besides me only laughed the situation off. The second notable encounter was after I'd finished giving a speech on my role model, my dad. After concluding my speech, I walked off to my seat. A girl asked if he came here legally. When I left the class and told my guidance counselor, she merely told me that maybe she didn't mean it in that way and I was perceiving it in the wrong way, rather than helping me make it a teachable moment for the other girl. There are parallels between my stories and that of the Black community right now. The people who were supposed to be there to support and protect me from harmful situations were the enablers for their students' racist actions. However, on a much bigger scale, the Black community has faced centuries of oppression and violence on the basis of their skin color. The very people sworn to protect them are the very people inciting the hate and violence resulting in their deaths, all on the basis of race. This is not politics nor a matter of differing opinions, but a matter of human rights. That is why I will always wholeheartedly support the Black Lives Matter movement. No person should have experienced the prejudice I and many others have experienced, but more importantly, the color of their skin should not be a death sentence.
My name is Alexandre Atinda, and I'm here to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. Recently, I attended an event here in Dallas to protest the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And I've never been more proud than I did in that moment to stand with my brothers and sisters united for a single cause. It reminded me of what it truly means to be an American, using your First Amendment right to free speech and assembly against government-sanctioned violence. These protests have often come under intense criticism on social media for allegations of violence like looting and rioting, but my critique is a little different. I'm here to talk about the intentional erasure of queer people in the Black community. Now, oftentimes, these rallies and these protests, like the one that I attended, are organized by gay Black men and trans women. And often, these rallies and these protests are attended by queer people, such as myself. But ironically, the deaths of gay Black men and the murders of trans Black women are never discussed or talked about at these rallies. The Human Rights Campaign has it that trans women are over 4 times more likely to be murdered than all women. And gay Black men see more violence and are more likely to be brutalized and murdered just for being who they are. Now, I want to make it a point that gay Black lives matter and trans Black lives matter just as much as Black lives matter in general. Queer erasure is real, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be stopped. And to the LGBTQ people who are unacknowledged and erased in history, we see you, and we thank you for your bravery and your fearlessness. Let's see that you are no longer erased in the history books. And to those who stand with the LGBTQ community as allies, speak up, use your platforms, and give voice to the voiceless. And as always, Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
I believe that what's going on today is far overdue. Racism is still prominent, and I believe that peace as of now is not going to send the message we want. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the looting is the answer or setting things on fire is correct, but cracking a few windows and vandalizing a few buildings here and there will show the world that we are serious and that we stand for what we believe in. I say this because too many lives have been lost and too many people have gotten off without a charge. Too many people have acted on their own personal prejudices and not by the law. I hate that I must live in a nation that still thinks this is okay. 400 years and counting without a change. 400 years since the sickness started and we will have no cure. I'm tired of it. The Black community is tired of it, and I know we won't go down without a fight. These are real experiences. This is how people live their life. People think that high schoolers or college students are too young to understand it because they're not in the real world. There is no age limit to having a different experience because of the color of your skin. We shouldn't have to be playing this game of luck our entire lives. And there's no age limit to when you witness it. There's no age limit to when you experience it. And so you need to ask yourself, is it really right that these kids are seeing this, that these kids have to fight for this? George Floyd was the straw that broke the camel's back. Our generation is tired. Black people aren't dangerous. Mentality is. The fact that you are afraid of somebody because the color of their skin is the scariest thing any of us can imagine. And everybody wants to justify the murders that have happened, the murders that are going on still, because some people are looting and rioting, when in reality, most of the protests are peaceful, but the media doesn't show you that. The media and the government want you to see everything in a certain way, but I encourage you to open your eyes and see every aspect of this issue. This isn't a black versus white problem. It's a everyone versus racist problem. And as much as you want to say all lives matter, all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. This is simply a video for education and awareness. So for people that are watching that already support the movement and already know all this stuff, thank you so much for your advocacy, your activism, and we can't get tired now. We can't stop now. We have to keep going. So sign petitions. I have links below. Donate money. I have links below. If you don't have money, there's a way to donate money without actually having money. The link is below and the directions are below as well. I also have ways you can find your local protests, as well as ways you can help protesters, especially if you're protesting in downtown areas of major cities. Those are the most dangerous parts, where the police are using brutality to combat protesters that are fighting police brutality. I have a bunch of information below. If you have information that you want to put below, hopefully the comments don't get turned off, because I really want y'all to be able to contribute in any way that you possibly can. I really hope that this can broaden your perspective a little bit, because I don't want to grow up in the world like this. I don't know about you. We can't change the unconscious bias that people have in their brain because of how they were brought up, where they were brought up, how society associates two things together, but we can put policies in place that make them recognize that and actively try to check themselves, change it, and make consequences for those who don't intervene whenever they see things that are wrong going on. That's what we're fighting for. We can't fight to get rid of racists, but we can fight to put in policies that will make racists think twice before they do something. Thank you.